Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into it. Let's go into the mock draft. So on November 18th, you guys will be watching the draft. Maybe we will be watching the draft, and let's go into our predictions. So what we're gonna do is Chris will start out with his number one pick first, and then I'll go into my number one pick. We'll have a little debate, and then Chris will use a bunch of big words, and then I'll say what I had to say. And then I'll say my number two first, and then Chris will say his. So we'll rotate a little bit to make it fair. You guys can leave comments. I know we got 3 viewers right now, so if you guys would like to leave the comments who you think should be drafted, we'd love to hear it. Let's go. So you start out. Who are the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting with the first pick in the draft?
So by the way, we're just going to be doing picks 1 through 14, which is the NBA lottery. So just so we don't prolong this. So for my number one pick in the 2020 draft, I have the Timberwolves selecting LaMelo Ball.
All right. Well, so I'll go into mine. I think the Timberwolves are going to pick Anthony Edwards, and this is without trades. So we're taking trades. If they have to make their pick, this is who they're going to pick. I go Edwards. Why do you go Ball over Edwards?
So I would go Ball for a couple of reasons. So obviously LaMelo Ball has had an interesting path to the NBA, going through the NBL, which is father created, and playing in high school for Spire, and eventually making his way to Australia, where he averaged 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Oh, you got the stats.
Yeah, so I mean, just though this kid's been playing against competition against grown men for pretty much since he's been 15 when he went to Lithuania. So this kid he's been playing against grown men for a while, and he's shown time and time again that he steps up to the occasion and puts up good numbers. I think it's no different in Australia. I think the only knocks you could really get him on is his shooting percentage, the 25% from 3. But I think that's due to him being one of the only options on his team. And I think it's due to somewhat of his mechanics. But I think you can see Lonzo actually transitioning his jump shot at the moment and he's been shooting well in the NBA 3-point line. So I think LaMelo, with his already elite playmaking and passing that can translate easily to the NBA, I think he's a no-brainer, and he could be a generational talent.
No-brainer. You're saying it's a no-brainer?
I think talent-wise and ceiling-wise, talent-wise right now, I love Anthony Edwards too. It is a tough pick. But I think if we're looking at ceilings, I think I would go LaMelo Ball as the higher ceiling right now.
All right. I think so I think Edwards I was bowling last night, right? I was at the bowling alley. ESPN was up on the screen. I was just watching Anthony Edwards highlights. And this is I remember last year I watched him play in the Maui Gym Classic. And I never heard of the kid before. And I just remember, I think it was against Michigan State. He was incredible. It was probably the best. I was one of the best live basketball games I've ever seen, just watching. And I was like, wow, this kid is special. But
scored 33 points in the second half, yeah.
Yeah, and I never really watched anything on him after until last night. And I think he's got it. He's got that it factor. He's got the it factor that you look at with the Zion. I think, especially last year with the situation of COVID coming in, no tournament, none of that. We didn't really get to see the season wrap up. Like with Zion, most of his hype came in the NCAA tournament when everyone's tuned in. I think if Anthony Edwards would have had that chance, then maybe we would have been talking about him as the consensus over number one pick.
And I definitely agree with you. I think I could interchange LaMelo and Anthony Edwards every single day. I always go back and forth on it.
Oh, for sure. And I would be fine with either of them. And I think that Edwards has a higher chance of being a bust. I think he either is going to come in, surprise everyone, and just be amazing, or he could be a bust. With LaMelo, he's going to come in. He's not going to average many points. He's going to run the offense like he's told. He's going to make great passes. He's not going to be what people are going to be expecting. I guarantee you that all the big media things are going to say that LaMelo is a bust in the first year.
Just like they did to Lonzo.
Just like to Lonzo. And he's going to be but I think he has a higher ceiling than Lonzo. I think that he's going to start out slow, but that's obvious. He's a young kid. These guys are 19 years old. They're not these old players like we used to be seeing like after 3 or 4 years of college. So they're going to take time to develop. And I think that either way, if the Timberwolves take either one of these players with the number one pick, I don't think it would be a bad choice.
No.
You can't. Yeah. So let's go on to the Warriors. I'll go first. I think they're going to take James Wiseman.
I am going to also agree with you. I think if the Warriors, barring a trade, don't deal their second overall pick away, I think it'll be James Wiseman.
For sure. I think it just really fits in with their – it doesn't, though. They might have to change up their system a little bit because they never really had a center like Wiseman. 7'1", freak athlete. He's a freak athlete.
100% agree.
They've never really – so they're going to have to switch up their – they're not going to be that three-point shooting team like they've been in the past. They're going to need to switch up their offense. But I feel like he would make more sense than taking whoever the Timberwolves don't take with Ball and Edwards.
It's just I think it would honestly it would either stunt LaMelo or stunt Anthony Edwards' growth, and that's not a knock to Curry or Clay because I'm sure they teach him some great things. But it's just it's probably 3 years down the road until they're going to see reasonable starting minutes.
And it's also crazy thinking about that the Warriors have the second pick in the draft. And they're
in the best place I think a team has ever been in before.
And they still have Curry, Thompson, and do they still have Draymond Green?
And Andrew Wiggins, yeah.
Like what? Yeah, think about it. So they put Wiggins at the 3.
Yep.
Green at the 4.
Yep.
James Wiseman at the 5. Curry and oh my.
You have interior defense too. That's one thing Draymond's had to do all by himself. So if you have 2 great defenders in the paint and then those 3 can stretch the floor, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, because if you look at Wiseman's stats from last year, he only played in 3 games, correct?
Yep.
But he averaged 3 blocks a game.
Yeah.
And another thing with Wiseman, if he would have played the whole year, I think his hype would be up even higher. He's kind of
he very well could have been the number 1 pick if he played the whole year. So if the Wolves would have had a better handle on him.
Exactly. Well, he doesn't want to play for the Wolves. So.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about that. So,
exactly.
So for the 3rd pick, I'm assuming it's pretty obvious who, but let you go first.
Yeah, for the 3rd pick, it's the other one of the 2. I'm gonna go Anthony Edwards. If Anthony Edwards is at 3, it's literally a no-brainer. In Charlotte, they need all the talent they can get, and I think Anthony Edwards would be given the keys to that ignition, just like he was given at Georgia, and I think it'd be really fun to watch, see the numbers he could put up.
For sure, and yeah, Ball too. If Ball goes there, either way, they're getting a good player.
Yeah,
for their team, and that they'll get a lot of minutes. They'll get a lot of time to develop, and they got Michael Jordan watching over them. So
that's right.
You can't really go wrong with either one of those. So now let's go to the 4th pick, the Bulls. Who do you got?
For the 4th pick, I have Obi Toppin going to the Bulls.
All right, I got wait, you got what? I
have Denny Avdia going to the Bulls. Mistake there. I have Denny Avdia.
Well, because you knew that was the right pick. I have Obi Toppin going number 4 to the Bulls. Should I say the Wooden Award, Naismith Award, first team All-American, 6'9" forward, Obi Toppin. I have him going 4th to the Bulls.
Yeah, so the reason I would select Denny here, the Bulls are at the moment are overloaded at the 4 and 5 position, and they have 2 proven starters that are going to start next year in Wendell Carter Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. And their point guard position right now is really good in Zach LaVine, and they have a great shooting guard, young kid named Kobe White. So the only spot for them to fill in the starting lineup is the 3. And Denny Avdia is a very interesting prospect from Israel. I think he has the potential to be the best player in this draft because we don't really know a whole ton about him. He had his breakout national tournament for Israel, averaged over 20 points a game with 7 assists, and it's really reminiscent of a Luka Doncic. He's 6'9", great wingspan, and he can shoot the ball.
Yeah, I feel like with the situation that the Bulls are in right now, they have not really been successful. I feel like they need to take a winner. It's kind of I would compare it to Deshaun Watson with Obi Toppin. Last year, 29-2, right? We never got to see the NCAA tournament play out, but I'm sure if we got to see it, I think that he might have made a big run there.
I
And
think
he's
Dayton
a
could have
winner.
very well been
He's always
in the
been a
Final
winner.
Four.
Exactly. So if you were trying to build up your program, nothing better to do than to get a winner, a guy who's always won. And he puts up he's the winner, he's like the Heisman Trophy winner basically. He is. I feel like he's falling to number 4. Usually he's falling to the 4th. He's only a sophomore. Correct. I don't know. I think he's only a sophomore. Yeah.
He's actually going to be 22. He was a junior this past year, so he's going to be 22 when he gets drafted.
All right, whatever. You're right.
That's the only knock you can really put on the. If that kid was 19, he could be the number 1 overall pick.
All right, but still, that's 2 years. That's 2 years. That's not that crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like with the 4th and the 5th, the Cavs and the Bulls, I feel like those two are pretty interchangeable.
Yeah, that is me and Peyton interchange those picks, so we won't go over them. So 5 and 6 for me go, or 4 and 5 for me goes Denny, then Obi, and then for Peyton, his 4 or 5 goes Obi, then Denny.
Yeah, so I feel like there's different tiers to the draft. I feel like you got your top tier, which is the first 3, which could all be interchanged. Then you got your second tier, which is 4th and 5, which those could be interchanged. And then now you go to 6 at the Hawks. That is when it gets interesting and kind of boring. But it also can be interesting if you are a Hawks fan or if you're whatever fan. So let's who you got going at number 6?
So with the 6th overall pick, I have Onyeka Okongwu, LaMelo Ball's teammate.
Yep, that's also who I have going there, and that was a great job with the pronunciation there.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, so with the Hawks, and I call him Big O. I'm gonna say Big O. Big O defense. You got some
background music. Let's take out the old headset. But yeah, I definitely agree with you with the Obi Toppin was a tremendous defender at USC, and then you also put points on the board. Big O.
I don't have his averages, but I think he averaged around like 14, right? Okay. Oh, now
it was, I believe, 17 a game.
17 a game, yeah. That's incredible. And with the Hawks, they don't need any help at the 1. They got Trae Young. They're kind of set with Reddish at the 3. So I feel like you got to go for Big O.
Go for talent, yeah. Put him at the 4 and let him and Clint just play some good defense and let them stretch. It's a Warriors situation kind of too. They have obviously Trae Young, and you can put John Collins at the 3 now if you get Big O, and I think it's just you can stretch the floor with that lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I think it might not be the most exciting pick, but I feel like it's a good pick for them as an organization. Isn't that crazy that when we used to watch Ball is Life, Chino Hills games, that they would have 3 lottery picks on that team?
They do.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And who was the other guy that they had? They had one other guy.
So they had LiAngelo and Eli Scott as well, and Eli Scott plays college basketball right now too.
Yeah, I think he goes to no, not Buffalo.
It's a lower D1 school, I think.
But still, that's the reason they're the best high school basketball team of all time.
Yeah,
for sure. So let's go into 7 with the Pistons. The 7th pick is historically a sleeper pick. Usually, you got Chris Mullin going 7th. Fun fact about the 7th pick: you got Chris Mullin. Another guy who's pretty decent, Curry, with the 7th pick. So you also got to put. For me, I'm putting the guy that he's coming from the best college program in the NCAA Division I. I'm gonna have to go with Tyrese Halliburton, from Iowa State University, 6'5", crafty, playmaking guard. How about you?
That's a great pick. I have him going
in a little bit here, but at the moment for the 7th overall pick, I have Killian Hayes, who is a international prospect from France, and the kid he's so reminiscent of Manu Ginobili and D'Angelo Russell. He looks like he's the real deal.
Really, I do see the comparisons there. For me, it's hard to take an international prospect like that when you have Halliburton sitting right there for you to take. Halliburton, he obviously has a lot of work to do, but he is just so skilled for his size. His jump shot is whack. It looks terrible. It really is the ugliest thing. Being an Iowa State fan, it is hard to watch, but it's so good. And he's a very consistent shooter. He might have issues getting a shot off, but I don't know. I think that if you're the Pistons, you need to get a playmaker. They really don't have a playmaker. And I'm sure your guy is a playmaker, but I don't know. I feel like Halliburton's less of a risk.
I think Halliburton is definitely one of the best playmakers in this draft, and the Pistons do need talent around him. So I would venture to say that's a good pick too.
Yeah, not a bad. Both are good options, of course. So now we're getting on to the 8th with the Knicks. Who do you see the Knicks taking with that 8th pick?
So I'm gonna actually go with Tyrese Halliburton, the one you just picked. I think he'll fall to 8 after Killian is picked at 7.
All right, I got Devin Vassell, 6'7", 3-and-D, from Florida State.
Yeah.
He's one of the best shooters in the draft, 42% on the year. He can play. He's a 2, but he can play the 1. And if you're looking at the Knicks starting lineup, I think, well, whatever they have going on there, not much.
They just need talent. They need talent.
And I feel like he'd just be a steady player that he's low risk. You know he's gonna be able to shoot. He's gonna be able to make plays. I feel like that's just a solid pick for the Knicks. But whoever the Knicks take, it's gonna end up being the wrong pick.
It always will be, yeah.
1 second, we got a comment coming in. Come on, Chris. Kobe's the one. And that's true. That is Kobe White is the point guard, and Levine usually plays a little bit more of the 2, but they could be interchangeable.
Yeah, they played him at both spots last year.
Oh, there, Chris is right there. There you go.
All right, so for the 9th pick, I'm going to go with Isaac Okoro, who I think if he falls to the 9th overall pick, the Wizards just got a gem because he is the best defender in this draft, and he has shown the ability. He's not the greatest three-point shooter ever, but it's something in the mid-30s that he can work on.
For sure. I also have Okoro there with the 9th pick. I just think defense is what makes him such a good prospect overall. Usually when you're looking at these picks, the only thing they're lacking is their defense. But for him, that's his strongest suit. And especially when you have Beal, you're going to need all the defense you can get. And I feel like he's very consistent. And again, for me, the problem is that we never really got to see the college. I never was as tuned into the college basketball scene as I usually am. And I think because I usually start like looking into it more when the tournament's coming on. And you're starting to make your picks, and that's when you're like looking at all these teams and studying the players. And this year, I kind of missed out on that.
Yeah.
So when looking at some of these names, I've never really seen them play, you know.
And I think, especially with Okoro, I mean, the Wizards really don't have a 3 right now. If you want to consider Otto Porter Jr. a long-term 3, I think that's just a wrong opinion. But he's literally the perfect person to put in there because Wall, you got your playmaking at the 1. And by the way, he looks extremely good coming off of injury. He looks shredded and he looks very healthy.
Hey, would you say it's kind of like a Hoodie Mello situation with John Wall? Every single time he comes back from an injury, everyone's saying that he is the real deal, and then he ends up getting hurt again.
I think John Wall's coming off injury a little younger than Melo did. Okay. And I think with Beal being one of the best scorers in the NBA, you plug in Okoro at 3, and he's going to defend. The Eastern Conference has some great players. He's going to be the one that's on Tatum. He's going to be the one that's on pretty much every single best player on the team. So if you can have a perimeter defender like that, you're in a good spot.
So this this is the guy. I think this is the funniest picture I ever do.
That's a great one.
He looks so. But yeah, I think Okoro is a very solid player and a good pick. Now the Suns, this is an interesting pick because they need a point guard, right?
They do.
They have Devin Booker, and it also there's a lot of point guard. This draft is pretty weak, but I'd say point guards are one of the things that they they have a decent amount of good point guards this year in the draft. So it really depends what happens before it. But so I had them taking Killian Hayes, obviously, because I think that would be such a great fit with Booker, because you want to get a pass first guy.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, who do you have?
So I think if Killian Hayes fell to 10 for Phoenix, a team who went 8-0 in the bubble and who look like they're probably destined to make the playoffs next season, they would be a scary team. I think the more reasonable pick here, though, is a player who was the number 1 overall player in the country in high school, and that's Cole Anthony. He was injured for part of North Carolina's season this year, but when he came back, he had to do a bulk of their scoring. He didn't shoot the greatest. He shot about, I think, 33% from 3 and not great field goal numbers, but he's shown the ability to put up points, and that's what he did. He put up 23 points and about 7 assists.
So when you have Devin Booker, are you really going to want a point guard who is going to be requiring a lot of shots?
I think one of the big part of Cole Anthony's game is he's not just a score first point guard. He's just a guy who can do that with Devin Booker. And I think obviously that team is looking on that is on the upswing. They have 3 proven scorers in Devin Booker, Kelly Oubre, and DeAndre Ayton. So I think if you plug a possible first overall talent in Cole Anthony before his injury and before he goes to North Carolina, that's an extremely scary team.
I see, but you can't judge a player off of their high school ranking because you got Trayvon Duval. He was the number 1 overall player.
He's actually on the Timberwolves G League team right now.
See, he's in the G League. I think that, and when I watched Cole Anthony play against when I watched him play against Duke, he looked so he was just forcing shots. And I feel like when you have Devin Booker and what you're talking about, they have so many good offensive talent. I think they need a low profile pass first player.
So to rebuttal on that, I think
I don't know if that makes Chris.
To respond, I think another underrated part of Cole Anthony's game is he's a good perimeter defender. He can guard your point guard. He's not super tall, but he's a great perimeter point guard, and he's quick. And I think the reason he had to score that many points for North Carolina is because, I'm going to be honest, they sucked. It was one of their probably worst seasons in history because they had nobody there. So he obviously was the only one that put up points for them.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I think that's due to a lot of the scoring for him. But yeah, you want guys that have the ability to score too anywhere.
Of course, and especially with our what we really want is that we want Booker to be traded to the Timberwolves. So they are going to need a scorer, and that's why they will take. That's why they will need to take Anthony, because they need that scoring.
Yeah.
So the Spurs, this pick. All right, quick question. I know I should know this. Is Greg Popovich? Did he retire yet?
He has not retired yet. No.
So this is probably one of his last draft picks.
Yeah.
This is one of the last picks he will make. I think he's going to take Saddiq Bey from Villanova.
Okay. For my 11th overall pick, I think I would bet a lot of money on this. I think Patrick Williams will go to the Spurs. I think he is, if not, he might be the most athletic prospect in this draft. He has the highest vertical in the draft, and he's just a Greg Popovich type of player. He's a very good perimeter and interior defender, and he's very athletic. So I know Greg Popovich will be able to develop a shot from him.
So yeah, I was between those two players. I was between him and Saddiq Bey. And what really stood out to me about Bey is he's he seems what you were saying about Williams is that he seems like he's the Greg Popovich type of player. He's a hard worker.
Yes.
He's a great shooter. 45% from threes, averaging 16 points. And I just feel like when you go to one of those schools like Villanova or Gonzaga, you have that winning culture. And that's what Greg Popovich needs. He needs a guy who's okay coming off the bench. A guy he's okay not being the guy for a couple of years. And he's okay just when did Kawhi what pick was Kawhi picked?
I don't know the exact pick, but Kawhi really didn't come out of a major program. He came out of San Diego State, so I mean, it was probably a later first round. But you see what Greg Popovich does to players.
Exactly. So either one of these picks, I think if he can take him in and develop him, and if these guys know that it might be a little bit longer before they get like the keys to the offense, I think that the Spurs drafting this high in the draft, it's a scary sight because the Spurs are always going to be there as long as they have Greg Popovich as a coach.
I think a point to build off. We just talked about Kawhi Leonard. You can see him and Patrick Williams similarities. They can defend both interior and out on the perimeter, and they weren't the greatest shooters in college, but you can see now Kawhi can shoot the lights out of the ball.
Yeah, great. I love how much we're bringing up Kawhi Leonard in this podcast tonight.
The robot.
Yeah, the robot, the cyborg is what they like to call him. All right, so now we're getting into the 12th. We got here we go. Kawhi was pick 15. So it's kind of close to where they're drafting this year. So yeah, let's go into 12 with the Kings.
So 12, I'm going to go with Devin Vassell. I think you had him earlier. He's obviously the 3-and-D prospect you were talking about from FSU. He's kind of got a funky shot, but he shot 42%. So I think honestly it's the same situation with some of the teams like the Pistons. The Kings just need someone who can shoot. And I think with Buddy Hield probably leaving because he won't even text his coach back, I think they need to fill in that number 2 spot, and I think that can be Devin Vassell.
Yeah, I agree with that pick. I also had is it Patrick Williams?
Patrick Williams, yep.
All right, no, Patrick Williams. I had him going 12, but either way, they just need
great picks all around.
Yeah, when you're looking at a team like the Kings, it's just kind of like the Kings. It's just I don't know. Like there's these teams like the Kings and the Grizzlies who are just kind of like boring teams.
Yeah.
You know, no offense to Kings fans, but it seems like every year they just take just kind of like.
So a point to build off this whole draft too is I think obviously people say it's a weaker draft, but I think if you were naming off some of these later lottery guys that have the potential to be that Giannis, to be that Victor Oladipo, to be that Kawhi. There's a lot of great talent in the middle of this draft.
I would 100% agree. I think that the talent is more spread out this year. Instead of it being top heavy, it's a very even draft.
Yeah.
And I feel like anywhere you draft, you have a chance at getting a good player. There's this. I know you'll probably know the name. There's a foreign prospect. He has a goofy name. I can't even pronounce it, but he's 6'9". He's 7'1". 7'1" shooter.
Is it from Aleka Pukasevsky, I think? Yeah.
Oh, I knew you'd know his name, but yeah. That's the dude. I think he could be the next one. Remember that one year when one of the teams drafted the Brazilian Kevin Durant?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. But that's what's so fun about the NBA draft. You can have players like Greg Oden go first, like you think they're going to be there's just one of the top high school talents ever, and they just bust.
And remember
the point of a draft.
Remember the footage that they showed? It was like from a gym.
Yeah.
I thought that was. Like the footage that they showed of him looked like a dad like filming an intramural game. Like I'll pull it up right now. Here we go. Like, look at his quality.
That's
Just-
awesome.
Yeah, but he actually he's in the NBA right now, and
He still is, yes.
and he was. I remember them talking about it. I'm like, no way, the Brazilian Kevin Durant, he's actually still in the league and he's actually playing. Like that's ridiculous. So where are we now?
So we're on the 13th overall pick for the New Orleans Pelicans.
All right, who do you got going there?
For them, I think it's literally a no-brainer if he's there. They need to fill in the 4 spot. They're going to go with Precious Achuya, and I think that Pelicans team is really on the upswing. I think they're a potential 7th or 8th seed contender, but Achuya has the potential to be the best defender in this draft too. He averages a lot of blocks. He averages a lot of steals for a big man, and he can move his feet quick.
I 100% agree with you on that pick. 100%. Let's go into the 14th, the final pick of the lottery. Who do you got going?
So the Celtics have a lot of picks in every single draft, it seems, and it seems they always hit on some really like weird players.
Right.
So I think RJ Hampton's a good guy to pick, but I don't think he's the guy for the Celtics. I think Aaron Nesmith. He's just
that's your guy.
That's my guy. That's who I want the Wolves to get at 17, but I'm reluctant to say he's probably not going to get there. So I think you got a guy who's led the NCAA in three-point shooting. He shot 52% from the three-point line on about 7 attempts per game. That is incredible. Anybody who shoots the lights out like that from the three-point line is valuable to a team, even if they can't do anything else. But he's a above-average perimeter defender, and he's got to work on his inside game a bit. But if you can shoot the lights out like that, that's very helpful for any team.
So you're basically saying he is Ray Allen?
He's got some numbers that show some resemblance. I think he could be like a better JJ Redick almost. So I think that's a good player.
Yeah, I had Hampton going there. Both good options, but you convinced me there on this guy.
Yeah.
All right, so that concludes our mock draft. You guys can, if you're watching this after the draft happens, I'm sure that it'll be very accurate to what happens on draft night. But no, a lot's going to change on draft night. There's going to be a lot of trades that we won't even be able to be prepared for.
It'll be a real, like, if you're not really even a fan of if you don't have a team that's in the lottery, it's still going to be one of the most entertaining drafts because there's going to be trades. There's going to be players you didn't think go in the lottery. It's going to be a really entertaining draft because no one knows where anyone's going to go.
Right.